I was looking to form a band based on my favorite band, UFO, and I was trying to find musicians who were into the same stuff I was, which was, UFO, Iron Maiden, Motorhead, Judas Priest, Venom. So one night I was at a party in Berkeley, and I saw this guy, and he had an Iron Maiden button on, and I came up to him and I said, "Hey man, are you into Iron Maiden?" He goes, "Oh, they rule." I go, "What's your name?" He says, "My name's Paul Baloff." And I go, "Ever heard of UFO?" And he goes, "Yeah, I've heard of UFO," and started singing Rock Bottom to me. And Rock Bottom was one of the songs I was interested in covering in my band. And I said, "Well, hey man, give me your number and we'll jam." And so he gave me his number, and the next day he came down and he sang with the early version of Exodus, and he sang Rock Bottom. And he didn't have the best voice in the world, but he had tons of charisma, and he was the funniest guy in the world, and he knew the music, and he knew what we were shooting for, and that was good enough for me. And the great thing about Paul is when we played our first show at a Metal Monday at the old Waldorf, it was actually the first time we'd played with Metallica too. I was just so blown away on how well he worked the stage. I mean, for someone who had very little band experience or stage experience, he really knew what he was doing, and he felt very comfortable on stage. And he was just a great frontman. And like I said, for all his shortcomings that he had in the vocal department, he made up for just in sheer charisma, and he was just a very, very good performer. He said the funniest things on stage, and he was just one of the funniest guys I knew. And I think one of the best memories I have of Paul is one night we were sitting around in his car, drinking vodka straight from the bottle, listening to Venom and Merciful Fate, and we were drunk. And we were just, saying how much we loved each other, and how great it was to finally have a band playing the type of music we wanted to play. And we all just all of a sudden decided that we should just immortalize it. And so someone whipped out a razor blade, and we started cutting up our hands. In fact, there's my scar right there, if you can see it. Can you see that scar? Anyway, I have a scar right there. I cut my hand, Gary Holt cut his hand, Tom Hunting cut his hand, and Paul Baloff cut his hand. We all rubbed the blood together, and we were all bonded by blood. And then shortly after that came the song Bonded by Blood. But yeah, that scar right there is in memory of Paul Baloff now. And yeah, he was just a great guy, a great person, and he was one of the most extreme frontmen I knew. I should say, he grew to be one of the most extreme frontmen in metal, I think. If you weren't totally metal, you would be ostracized by Paul from the stage. He'd point people out in the audience and say, "You're a fag, get the hell out of here," or "That guy is not banging, kick his ass." He kind of fostered that whole attitude of being just really extreme, and he lived for metal. Last Friday I got it was last Friday I got a phone call from my brother-in-law saying that he was in the hospital. So I called the hospital, and he said that I got a hold of Rick Hunolt, which was the other guitar player in Exodus, and he told me that Paul just went for a bike ride, came back. His girlfriend went down to lock up the bikes, and by the time she came back up, he was already in the throes of a seizure. So they called 911. They brought him to the hospital, and he was already deep in it. And by the time I spoke to Rick, he said there was no brain activity. So I pretty much knew that, when that happens, there's no turning back. It's only one way to go. And it's a big loss, at least in my life it is, because Paul set me on my way to a certain extent. He was the one missing link. He was the one missing link in my first metal band, and when I had found him, I thought to myself, all we can go is up from here. And he's just an amazingly funny guy, very intelligent, very loyal, and do anything for his friends. It's just a shame, and I'll miss him. But at least we have the first Exodus album. Thank God for that. And one of my favorite lines that Paul Baloff ever said was when he was introducing an Exodus song on their last live album. The line went, "The song is older than shit, heavier than time." I thought that was such a great line. That's why I like to think of him, heavier than time. See ya, Paul.